Well, good day to you. It is June the 7th, and it's time to put up another video, and I hope you're having a great day as well. My name is Gary Willing, and if this is your first time ever listening to Search for Signs, let me tell you briefly about what we talk about. Well, we talk about the emergence of Maitreya and the Masters of Wisdom. We talk about why are the Masters returning now to the everyday world? Why is it important that they're coming back at this time? And, of course, what does it mean for you and everybody else that they're doing this? Now, if you are new to this information, that's fine. I have probably 350 videos where I put up talking about this information. You can start to look at this, study it for yourself if you want, either from my channel, or you can go to the links in the description of each video and off you go. You're starting to look at starting to research this information for yourself. But I do want to say this. It is important to keep in mind that I'm not trying to get you to convert from one belief to another. So depending upon what your background is really dependent upon what your reaction of this information is going to be. And if you are rather secular in your view, you might be quite alarmed by what you're about to hear. But it's really more about just presenting information for you to look at, consider for yourself, hopefully take it a step or two further and start to research this for yourself. But it's really for you to come to the truth for yourself or not, really. And if you see that it is there is some truth to it for yourself, that's fine and wonderful. If you see that there isn't any truth for yourself, well, that's fine and wonderful too. I'm not the slightest bit interested in what happens in that regard. Now, I do think, and it is my hope, that after hearing this information, perhaps you start to look at life as a little bit more as we all should be doing, that we are all one, and living according to that truth. If you are a Christian or you're a Buddhist or you're a Muslim or you're Hindu, if you read your spiritual texts, whatever it happens to be, whether it's the Bible, the Creme, or the Bhagavad Gita, you'll see that within the writings of the Bible or the other text, you'll see the truth that we are one. That whatever the teacher was that gave that teaching out was teaching humanity the truth and the fact that we are one, and then what to do about it. Look at Jesus. He talked about it quite a bit. It's missed by so many people because they don't see it this way. And we're going to talk about that in the question that I am about to answer. But, he even went on to say about the law of cause and effect, which you sow shall you reap, which is another way of saying that we are one because we are connected. If you put something out in a harmful way, it's going to come back on you. Those who live by the sword shall die by the sword. He said it so simply, and even up to now where if a group or nations attack another group or nations, it comes back on them as karma, in the same proportion that they put out. So it's far better to live more harmlessly and live harmlessly within that law than it is to perpetrate violence, because it's only going to come back on you and hurt you in the end. And start to see ourselves as connected in that way. So if we could take this information, about what we talk about the miracles that have been going on, and look at it as that could be evidence that we are one, because these miracles are happening to every single religious group and those people of no particular religious faith. So if it is true that this phenomena are leaving people with a greater sense of hope, then it could be said that the hope for mankind is for all of mankind, which is another way of saying that we are one. And then talking briefly about the problems that are facing humanity on a daily basis, things like the environment, social injustice, political divisions, and economic divisions and uncertainty, of course, starvation, poverty, war, terrorism. Those are all problems that are affecting each and every one of us. They might be affecting us indirectly, but problems as big as the environment are, of course, happening to everybody. They're affecting everybody. Pollution is making us all sick. It doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter how you look, how smart everybody thinks you are or not or whatever, and how much money you have in the bank account. We're all breathing the same air. We're all drinking the same polluted water, eating the same, tainted food, And it's because of man's misuse toward the environment. And until we do something together about that problem, it's always going to be there. And eventually it could be so dangerous that it could mean that all our lives are in jeopardy. So the problems are there. We're being affected by those problems. We all have to do something about those problems, or the result will be the same, for each and every one of us. It doesn't matter who we are. So you see how the problems are possibly showing us that we are one as well, So, I mean, that's what to really pull from this video, not the religious side of this per se, even though I get more questions about the religious viewpoint of this information, but it really is not as important at all as it is to look at, discuss, educate ourselves on the problems and the solutions thereof. So hopefully that helps. Now, I do have, after I try to answer the questions in the next portion of this video, I do have an article written by one of these masters about the problems that are facing humanity. And are we going to solve those problems in time? Okay, so it will answer those questions, and hopefully, and not to give away not to be a spoiler alert, but you already know my answer to this, but are we going to solve the problems in time? Well, I wouldn't be starting every video with, "G'day, how you doing? Oh, by the way, we're going to die in a year." You know what I mean? So you obviously know my viewpoint on that based on the first 3 seconds of this video. But hopefully after hearing the end of this video, if you listen to it all the way through, you hear this master's article, you'll have a greater sense of hope about the world that we live in. So anyway, now I do want to answer a few questions. If you have a question you'd like to ask about what we talk about, simply post your question as a comment in this video or any of the other videos you might choose, and I will do my best to answer it. You can also email me at searchforsigns@mail.com. All right, that's the other way of doing it. All right, now, the first question is an ideological question. Go figure. I would have never guessed that. All right, so he says, "I'm confused. Is there really a Heavenly Mother or the Lord Jesus Christ for the saints or for the church? Married to the Heavenly Father as Mormons believe, or are these satanic myths? Should I be a Protestant or a Mormon?" Okay, well, welcome to the wonderful world of isms, where things are a lot more fun when you look at life through isms, that's for sure. We all have a tendency to do this. Now, Maitreya says isms are like drugs. Basically, it's a way of escaping reality, just as drugs do. You don't see life as it really is when you're looking at life through the prism of isms, and they also create nothing but confusion. Okay, now this question and the second question you might not think are related, but I can see a relation between these two. Okay, but first of all, it's, please don't look to me as somebody that should make up your mind whether you should change your belief from one to the other, because that is not my purpose in life. That is for sure. That is for each one of us to come up with it ourselves. So you want to be a Protestant or a Muslim, that is totally up to you. But now in terms of the ism part of this, okay, Maitreya is not coming to create a new ideology. The ideologies that are already in place, whether they're religious, political, economic even, are ideologies. Like communism is an ideology. Capitalism is definitely an ideology. Socialism is an ideology. The teachings of the teacher transcend that. Looking at just sharing, it transcends every economic ideology. It's not socialism, it's not capitalism, and it's not communism. Even though you might see it as that, it's not. It's a natural function. It's taking the resources that are there on a land that is within an artificial border that man created and give it freely to another nation that has an artificial border that man created in order for its people to use. And then those people give back something that they have in excess of. That's all it is. So where does that fit into socialism? You know what I'm saying? Or where does it fit into capitalism, sure, or communism even? It doesn't. It transcends that. The teachings of Maitreya about the self transcend all religions. Because within the teachings of those religions is the truth about the self. Jesus said, I and the Father are one and the same. People made it an ideology, but really what he was saying was that his purpose, his function is the same as the will of the Father. He and the self were one and the same. There was no separation between the two. But we created an ideology based on what he said, but there was no ideology into what Jesus was teaching ever. Man created that ideology. And even when it comes to the names of Maitreya that he's referred to, the Christ, the Imamati, the Kalki Avatar, Sri Krishna, the Messiah, these are just names. And Maitreya himself has even said, those names create nothing but confusion, because those names in and of themselves, the Christ, the Imamati, are ideologies according to man. They created it. All ideologies are created by man, not by the masters. That's why Maitreya only wants to be referred to as the teacher. So look at it like that. You know what I mean? But a person can be a Protestant on a Monday, go to the Mormon Tabernacle Choir on Tuesday. They could become a Catholic on Wednesday. You don't want to be Catholic on Friday because then you can't eat meat. You have to eat fish. You could be a Buddhist on Thursday. You could be a Methodist on Friday so you can eat that piece of meat. And then Friday you want to go out and let your, you got a hair up your you-know-what and you want to go out and party. Well, then shoot, you could be an agnostic or an atheist on Friday or Saturday, right? So you can go out and party and drink or whatever. And then Sunday you can go back and pray. I mean, you can do it however you want to do it. Or you could be an atheist for the majority of your life, have a road to Damascus experience in your 30s, and become a fundamentalist Christian for the rest of your life. Whatever you want to do, however you want to do it, is how you can do it, because it all about isms. But is it really helping you, right? And that's why when it comes to even this information, I try to present this information. I believe 100% in what I'm saying about Maitreya and the masters coming back now. Why is it important to do this? I believe 100% in it. But in no way am I trying to create another ideology. Because if somebody were to be a fundamentalist Christian and then go, oh, well, that makes sense. I think that Maitreya is now the Christ. And then they would create a whole new ideology about this. What have they learned? How much freer are they now that they know this idea? They created an ideology around the teachings of Maitreya than they did with the teachings of the Christ or any other religion. It hasn't. It hasn't created any more freedom for them. Maitreya is coming to teach us how to be free in the realest, truest, fullest sense of the word. He's starting with the principle of sharing because it will take justice. We have to have true justice to build upon in order for each and every one of us to experience true freedom. You can't do it the other way around. If we were already sharing in the way that we were, he would the need to share. We would already be doing it, right? But true justice and true freedom are one and the same. They can't coexist without the other. The ideologies of communism or capitalism, one's based on more justice and less freedom. The other one's based on more freedom and less justice. They both are divine in their own way, but they're both got it wrong in the same way because they are denying the existence or the need of the other. Do you see what I'm saying? So communism denies more freedom. Capitalism denies more justice than freedom, but they need each other to exist. So that's why sharing is so important, because when it starts to build about justice, where people start to feel that their needs are taken care of, then they can start to learn, how do I become free? Well, freedom truly is seeing yourself as divine in the truest sense of that word. I live in the United States. The majority of the people here in the United States view freedom financially, like financial freedom, financial independence, not having to go to the same job that they hate, being dominated or bullied by a boss that they don't like, right? That would be freedom for a lot of people, right? But is it true freedom? Does it lead to more freedom? Or is it just not having to work where you normally worked, right? Same thing with other people who maybe don't look at the fact that they could get financially free. They view freedom as being able to do what you want, be as hypercritical to other people as you want, and not have any kind of consequences because of it. That's true freedom. So they say whatever they want to say. They say that they are just being honest and blah, 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 blah. But yet, is that true freedom? Or is that something different? True freedom is about seeing yourself as divine in every sense of that word. Living a life that's more divine. Having the leisure time to be able to discover that within yourself. And it's different for each person because we're all unique, but yet allow other people's uniqueness to exist at the same time and not harm them in that way. Not be critical because they view something different, but to allow them to the same way. That's true freedom. To live life like each day is different and wondrous in and of its own way. To be free from fear, to be free from the anxiety of the life that we all have today. That is true freedom, but it can't come without true justice, which won't come until the nations of the world globally start to share the resources. Do you see what I'm saying? And people start to feel the need to live a more simpler life to create more freedom. It's not about having everything that you want whenever you want. That's not freedom. That's actually an albatross around your neck a lot of the times. We think it might be freedom or it might lead to freedom, but look at the super rich. Are they truly super happy? Or are they just super rich? You know what I mean? So now I'm not knocking them or being critical. I'm just saying, just look at it for yourself, inquire about yourself, The worst thing that we could do is draw a conclusion upon what we talk about here on this channel. That's the second worst thing. The very worst thing to do, whether it's this channel or anything else, is to draw a conclusion based on somebody else's conclusion, whether it's mine or somebody else's. So, just take it for what it is. But we as a family, as a world family, have to look at how can we start to bring about sharing, start to bring about justice in order to create freedom for each other. Freedom from ideologies, And so to be a Protestant or a Mormon, that's up to you, my friend, But hopefully that helps, and hopefully that will help to start shining some light on this. Now, how does it relate to the next question? Well, the next question I'm looking at is, did Benjamin Creme ever disclose the name of his own master? Well, you might say, how does this have to do with what the last question was about ideology? Well, I'll try to talk about it in a second. But no, he did not. And then you went on to say, I always believed it was the master known as DK or Joao, also known as the Tibetan, the master behind the Alice Bailey books. Now, the interesting thing about that is, one, if you read the introduction to the Alice Bailey books, when the Master DK is talking about who he is, he says, and I quote, he's a disciple of a certain degree. That's all he said. And he said that, now this I'm paraphrasing, it could be anybody from a probationary disciple who's at the lowest end of that, just starting to take on the disciplines in order to become a master, just early on, to an initiate, to a master, and he said to the Christ and beyond the Christ himself. So he said it says it tells you a little, but it also tells you a lot, right? So that's how he described himself. He never said in the introductions to these books until Alice Bailey actually screwed up. It was her follow-up. She wasn't supposed to say who it was, and she ended up, it slipped out, and she said it was him. But prior to that, he was just a Tibetan disciple, is all he said. And so when he talked about the other masters, he talked about himself, but he was talking about himself in the third person, really. He wasn't even talking about himself as that. Oh, by the way, that's me. And then you look at Benjamin Creme's master. It's kind of the same way, was he the Master DK, or is he the Master DK, or is he Master Moria, who was the Master Peter? Is he the Master Kudhumi, who was the Master John? Is he the Master Hilarion, who was the Master Paul? Was he a Master Rakuzi, who was Saint Germain or Francis Bacon? Well, we won't know until after Maitreya is out known for who he is, and he starts to introduce the masters out there one by one by one. And then I'm sure somebody somewhere, whether it's a journalist or somebody just asking him a question, and then the truth will come out. Were you the master behind or working through Benjamin Creme? And then he'll say, oh, yes, it was me, or whatever, right? If you asked one of the masters and it wasn't him, no, it wasn't me. I wouldn't want that job. You know what I mean? But eventually we'll all know. But is it important, right? It's more important, I think, just as it is in the case with who and what Maitreya is and why he's on TV, not claiming to be Maitreya, and the same as the Tibetan master Kul really didn't want to be known as the master DK. He just wanted to be known as a Tibetan disciple to the Benjamin Creme's master. Is it really important to really know it at this moment in time? No, not really. It's far more important to look at the information. In the case of Benjamin Creme, you can also look at the art that Benjamin Creme produced, because within every one of his paintings was the inspiration of his master in some way, shape, or form. The teaching behind it, whether it was the color or the organization of that painting, even as Benjamin Creme put it. So you can, if you're an artist type and you like art, you can see some of the images of his artwork and the meaning behind it, and that a lot of that is the inspiration of his master. His master, he said, had a hand in every one of his paintings. So hopefully that will help. All right. But even those who knew Ben the best, which I don't put myself in that group, there were others who were a lot closer to him than me. He didn't even mention anything to them. So. All right. Now, the next one's a rather simple question. Gary, do you have an Instagram or Facebook account which we can follow? Yes. The link is in the description of this video. Is it really that important? I just kind of put one thing up here or there, maybe once every other month. Whenever I find an article about a UFO or governments disclosing UFOs, I might put something up on my Facebook page. But that's about it. If you listen to this information once even, that's about you can get a lot from it and then move on and do your own research. But I haven't really found Instagram to be that useful for this information, but maybe it is. Maybe there'd be somebody who could know how to do it better than me. Facebook, kind of the same way. To me, it's, I just find these videos to be more to my liking and how I like to share this information. So, but I thank you for bringing that up, though. I appreciate it. And hope you're doing well, truth be told. I've heard from you in the past and I often wondered how you're doing. So hopefully you're doing well. All right. Now, the next question says, you mentioned the masters in your intro. What is a master? Who is a master? And why did they leave humanity by itself? I looked at some of the replies. I never said that the masters left humanity by itself. I said they basically removed themselves from the public eye and worked indirectly through humanity through their disciples, is what I said. So if there was any kind of confusion on that level, I apologize. Who and what a master is and everything like this, if you don't mind, because I'm kind of getting long-winded, how about if I try to answer that in the next video, if that's okay with you? Hopefully it won't be. All right. Now, I do, as promised, want to read an article by Benjamin Creme's master entitled The Benefactors. I hope you listen to this all the way through. If you can find this article on Share International's website, definitely read it yourself so that way you can internalize the words for yourself. Hopefully you won't draw any conclusions on it. When we do that, no matter what it is, it just kind of cheapens it. But it's far better for you to read this yourself. And then if you ever wonder why I put these at the end, I do it for not because I think they're less important. I actually have often considered it just doing an entire video where I do nothing but read these articles. They're much more important than what I could talk about. But I do it only because I want to kind of leave you with it so you can kind of think about it and not discuss it. I don't really know if I could add anything to this that you couldn't think for yourself or anything like that. So hopefully that helps, but hopefully you'll listen to this all the way through. And also, I will leave you with this. Hopefully it will leave you with a greater sense of hope based on the problems that are facing all of us, because it does have a very hopeful message to it. Every generation brings into incarnation those souls who are equipped to deal with the problems of the time. This statement is an esoteric truism to which more attention should be paid. In it lies hope for the future and a guarantee of progress. It also gives an insight into the workings of the plan. Faced as they are with adversity and trial, men tend to see the world as hostile and life as haphazard. They fail to see the continuity and beauty of the unfolding evolutionary plan. In reality, all is working towards the goal. Naught there is of trial and pain, but leads eventually to greater understanding and peace. Could men but see the intricate workings of that karmic process, they would marvel at the justice and majesty of the plan. As it is, they know not that all proceeds under law. Lost in fear and doubt, they turn their backs upon the evidence of their experience and deny the existence of the law. Yet a backwards glance through history would reveal the steady onward progress of mankind. Each epoch has seen the unfolding of some facet of man's potential. Each century, the emergence of men and women of genius, whose radiance and resource has enriched the lives of all. Through their discoveries, their arts and sciences, these benefactors of the race have led humanity forward, bearing the fruits of the Spirit for all to see. Thus has it been for untold ages, testifying to the efficacy of the plan, and thus will it continue till all is perfected, and a new day begins upon another star. Cycle by cycle, bringing their gifts of insight and experience, wave upon wave of souls have met and overcome the challenges of the time. Never for long has mankind faltered, however dark the image that history presents. Never for long has man left unattended. Brief indeed were the terms, bereft of guidance, and even then the light was there for those with eyes to see. Group law conditions this manifestation, while the law of service impels these groups to cooperation with the plan. Myriads of souls await their call to service, drawn to incarnation by the magnet of their ray. Age after age, the call sounds forth, and time upon time the group responds. Hearkening to the need, they enter gladly, ready to do battle with ignorance and fear. This time of test is no exception. Already in the centers the vanguard wait. Trained and prepared, they know their roles and parts, and know, too, that victory will be theirs. Trust, then, the plan, and know that not for long can hinder its fulfillment. Know that the great ones, in their wisdom, foresee all needs. Know, too, that all can enter into service and share the burden of the task. The present time is one of special opportunity. Seldom, if ever, has such a one been known. Take your places in the forefront of the servers and enter the lists on the side
Remember to
of
take action
God.
and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.